All right, welcome to our intro meeting to the LHC Europe uh, tour. My name's Jim Eichmeyer. I have been teaching physics and astronomy and meteorology at Cuesta College for uh, quite a while, about 20 years or so. And in the last 10 years, I got inspired to to go to the Large Hadron Collider after the historic discovery of the Higgs boson, which is a very interesting and highly theoretical prediction that was made regarding how particles get their mass. And so this was, and let me just see if I can switch this to my PowerPoint. And so, let's scroll back. This is a view of the Large Hadron Collider, an aerial view. And so this is a ring that extends all the way from France to Switzerland. The tour would start here in Switzerland, but you actually need a passport to complete the tour because it also extends into France. And so this is a huge ring, and it's about, I think, something like 18 miles around. And so the idea here is that in a particle accelerator, you accelerate particles uh, in this case, protons. You have them go around. First, they're accelerated in the smaller ring, and then they move around through this larger ring, and they come around and they smash into each other. So you have protons going around one way, protons going around the other way. They come around and they hit each other. And so you try to get them going at as close to the speed of light as possible. And so in this case, they can get it up, I think now to something like 99.9999999 percent the speed of light. So these are incredible energies. Then when they slam these particles together in the region of the uh, uh, receiving array here, you essentially are creating energies that are comparable to what was happening within a first second after the Big Bang. This is when all the particles in the universe were being created, and you literally turn energy into mass. And so what was discovered is that there is a particle called the Higgs boson that gives all other particles their mass. And it was discovered here, the Large Hadron Collider. And so uh, I was um, motivated, let's say, to take a group of students there. Wouldn't it be fun if we could go to Switzerland and check this thing out in person? It's the largest structure in the world, largest machine in the world. And it's a $10 billion project that was a cooperative enterprise of the United Nations. Here's my first uh, group that did this tour in 2013. And you see the United Nations sign behind it. It's a $10 billion project, and it is extremely impressive setup there. And so the idea here is that we would fly to Geneva. We'd spend a night or two there to adjust to jet lag. We'd take our tour, and then we'd meet up with a Explorica uh, tour that would then go all the way through Switzerland up to the Alps and then down through Lake Como and then finally to the Mediterranean along the coast of the Italian Riviera through Cinque Terre, Monte Carlo, then Nice, and then curve inland through Providence, and then finally finish up in Barcelona. And so I've done this kind of thing now, something like 10 times in the last, I think, 11 years. And it means I was actually averaging about 2 a year until COVID hit. But now that things are kind of getting back to normal, I am anxious and excited to get my travel program back on track. So the whole idea then is that we would leave around June 1st. We would go to Geneva, then we would take a train, and that would get us to Lake Lucerne. So let me just move through these slides a little bit here. This is a picture of the interior with a tour guide there that would be showing us around. Here's another picture of the magnetron in the background. So there's some really impressive things going on and a lot of fun science that are involved with the tour. But once we're there, why not check out Europe? Let's have some fun and go see a lot of the really interesting things that Europe has to offer. And so the tour then would, now why did I pick Explorica? Well, because they gave a really good price on this. I have gone through either Explorica or EF in the 10 tours that I've taken. This would be my 4th trip to the Large Hadron Collider, and done some other trips to Europe as well as trips to China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, South America. We've gone to Machu Picchu and Galapagos Islands, and so done this a few times, and I've either used Explorica or EF in this tour. Explorica, why Explorica this time? Well, because they gave a way better price with all of the different inflationary things that have happened. The prices have gone way, way up, and used to also use EF, but EF is priced now for the same kind of a tour is about $8,000. And so I was quite happy to see that I could still get a price that was less than 5,000 for this trip. And so they're good value. You get all breakfasts and dinners. Let's see here. And so here is the, can everybody see this okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We would be flying in, we'd be doing a slightly different route than this. So we would fly into Geneva, spend a night or two there, then take a train across to Lake Lucerne. Then from Lake Lucerne, we would go through the Swiss Alps to take a cable car ride up about 6,000 feet to kind of the top of the Swiss Alps, and might get a good chance to look at how glaciation has changed over time. That's another thing that I've done on these trips is I've looked for evidence for global climate change. And so we'd have some discussions that I would try to make understandable to anyone, even if they weren't a science major, but also available to give more information to more technically minded people about what's happening at the Large Hadron Collider. There's also opportunities there perhaps to make connections and to get summer work doing research there. And then in these other areas, we have the opportunity to look for global climate evidence for global climate change in terms of decreases in glaciation. And once we get down to the Mediterranean, we can do salinity tests and temperature tests, and then try to compare that with previous studies to see if we can find any general trend in terms of evidence for global climate change. So this is something that I've been interested in, and it's an opportunity to do some research, but it's not something that is required. And you don't need to have any research experience to go on the trip. You don't need to do any research on the trip, but it's something, at least the information would be there and be available to you And if you wanted to try to collect some data and present your results, we would be able to set something up so that you could present your results at Cuesta. So we would go down then, we'd spend a little time in Lake Como after we checked out the Swiss Alps. It's quite a view from that cable car ride. It takes you up about 6,000 feet. And then there's an aerial tram that takes you back down again. And so it's quite a spectacle. George Clooney lives in Lake Como. I've never seen his house, but it's kind of an upper scale kind of an area in northern Italy. And so we would be stopping there, and then we'd make our way down, and then along the Mediterranean coast to Monte Carlo, through uh, the French Riviera, and then we'd curve off this way through Providence. And I've never seen this part of France before, and so that would be a very interesting thing to do. And then we would finally finish up in Barcelona. And then there would be an option of a extension to Madrid, but I haven't looked into that. So I hadn't figured that into the overall plans. And so that's just kind of a very brief overview of what we had in mind for the trip. Trip, roughly speaking, would be about 12 days. Cost of the trip is something like $4,900 for the Explorica tour, which would be a bus tour, and we would be meeting up with other groups of people along the way. But then I would need to plan the maybe 2 days stay in Geneva. So I had mentioned in the emails and the announcements that I sent out that there would be something like a $450 cost to do that part of the trip with the Large Hadron Collider. I'm not sure that it would be that much. It kind of depends on a few things, but I would try to keep it as low as possible. I just need to get a couple of nights lodging and a train ticket from Geneva to Lucerne. And so that could end up being less than $450. I would only ask for as much as it would cost after I worked out the prices on it. And so that we'd start then Large Hadron Collider. We'd meet up with the group, and then we would do this tour of the Mediterranean. Are there any questions about anything I've said so far? Any questions that anybody has regarding the trip in general? Everybody still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just keep going, but if anybody has questions, feel free to just speak up. I don't need to keep talking. I can. I'd like this to be kind of a question and answer thing, but I can go through the PowerPoint and then I could answer a bunch of questions after that too. That would work just as well for me. So here are a few. Here's basically a tour itinerary. We would fly to Geneva. We do the LHC tour. Take a train to Lucerne. There should be an E in Lucerne there, and then we'd see some Lucerne landmarks. And then we'd have our optional Mount Tillis excursion that would take us up to basically the top of the Alps. Whoops. And get this back. And so we would have an opportunity then for traditional Swiss dinner. They keep you pretty busy. There's a lot of really neat things to see. They know where they're going, and so you don't always have to do things with them if you want to break free and do something on your own. But I found that it usually is time pretty well spent because they plan things out very nicely. The tour includes all breakfasts and dinners, the round trip plane flight, and all of the transportation. So the only thing that you would really need to think in terms of is maybe lunches. But a lot of times I don't need 3 meals a day, and I figure a lot of times we'll be stopping somewhere for 3 hours. You don't necessarily want to just be sitting in a restaurant, although you could get an idea of what the local atmosphere is from a restaurant. But uh, a lot of times I like to just go out and explore. But you want to think in terms of maybe a little bit of money for lunch, uh, lunches, maybe gifts for your family when you get home, things like that. But the vast majority of the expenses would be taken care of. So then from Lucerne, we would drive through Switzerland to the Italian Riviera, go past Lake Como, and so here, let's just go back to this. Okay, so that's the Italian Riviera. Then see a couple pictures here. I think that these are pictures on the right of that inward journey from uh, France, where we take off uh, and we go inland from the Mediterranean. So there'll be some nice hikes and things that we can do in that area. And, so after we've gone through the Italian Riviera, we do Monaco, Nice, and then we curve inland through the promenade. Uh, and so if you want more details about this, on that link that brings you to the site. And oh, by the way, for all of you, if you wouldn't mind, while we're going over this, typing in your name on chat, your email address so that I can have contact with you. And then if you have any specific questions, you could put those in there. Also, uh, if you've had any kind of research experience, we can talk a little bit about the discount for that. But if you could indicate that, uh, and if you don't want anybody else to see it, you don't want to send it to everyone. You just send it to me. But if you don't care whether everybody else sees your email and that sort of thing, then you could just send it to everyone. But if I have that information, it in no way obligates you to anything that we're doing, but it gives me an opportunity to stay in contact with you and to give you notifications and to keep you in the loop for everything that we're trying to set up for the trip. And so that greatly appreciated. And see that I'm getting these on chat right now. So that's great. All right. So then after Providence, we would go to Barcelona. That would be the last point in the trip. There are some kind of amazing architectural features. There's some neat ruins, beautiful views, incredible beaches. All along that coast, there are beautiful beaches, but Barcelona is one of my favorite cities. I'm looking forward to going back there. And then, if anybody's interested in the extension to Madrid, it would probably be a few hundred more, but I could look into that and see whether that's a possibility. But on day 12, which should be around June the 12th, we'd be flying back to Barcelona. And so that would be in time for summer school if you happen to have any plans along those lines. Here's a picture from Lucerne. A lot of these places in Switzerland are kind of like taking three Yosemites and putting them all together in one spot. It's really kind of amazing, the scenery that you see there. This is a picture from the city of Lucerne. This is a long bridge that has some really neat paintings in it that are all like from the 12th century. And so there's a lot of historical things. On that day, before we go up the Alps, we go all the way across to take a nice boat trip across Lake Lucerne. And then we take a cable car. I think it's the second steepest cable car in the world. And then we go from I think it's 3,000 feet to 8,000 feet or something like that. We get up to kind of this top perch where we can walk around and check out the Alps. Okay, and so what's included then is your round trip airfare, transportation, breakfast, and dinners. Guided tours or tour guides, and takes care of all the things like entrance fees, and don't have to worry about, like, if you're driving, not only would you not know where you're going, but what I found in Europe is that you get these toll gates all the time. It just beats you to death. Of course, they would take care of all of that. And so they know where they're going, and they can give you really good information about each place that we go, and it's well planned out. And then I can throw in some things because the Explorica tour guides don't really mind if I take over the microphone. And so I know a lot of geology, and so I can talk about the geology of the area. We can talk about global climate change. We can talk more about nuclear physics or even meteorology. All of those things are things that we can share together on the downtime when we're in the bus. Okay, and so travel protection, they have a travel protection plan here. I haven't looked into it very carefully. The last time that I worked with Explorica, I think was in the late like 2018 or so, and I, I I didn't really think that the plan was all that useful, and so I've never done it, but you might want to check it out and see whether it's something that you would be interested in. And the way that you enroll then is that you just go to this website, explorica.com/Eichmeyer-3511. And as long as you've given me your email, I'll send you all the links to the different uh, uh, um, sources of information that you would need for the trip. But you can go straight to my website there, and you can enroll right from there if you want. The cost for holding your place at that price is $50, and then I think you can either, if you had the money and you wanted to put it down, you could. If you wanted to do monthly payments, I think that they usually try to set it up some kind of a monthly payment that would get you done within a couple of months uh, of late May, because they would want to have things completed by the time that they made the airplane reservations, which are difficult to cancel. And so that would be the website. And if you go to this website here, this will give you an opportunity to click on expanded tour agenda, where it'll go through in detail what's done each day during the tour. And so that's something that I recommend. And then if you wanted to enroll, you could either do it online or you could do it by phone by calling this number. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you have about any of the things that you might be wondering about either later or now during our intro meeting. And so again, this is the link to that website. And if you have more questions for me, you can contact me at my email here. Also, when I send you the email from the information that you've given me, I'll give you my cell phone number and uh, and so you can and also my office hours at Presta, so you could come by my office if you had questions and wanted to talk with me in person. I also have normally a Zoom office hour on Tuesdays at the same website at 4:30. So I'm quite reachable. Okay, so that is the end of the slideshow. Let's go back up here and let's see if there are any questions.
I have like two questions.
Sure.
So one, Is there like a sort of like assignment or is there homework sort of is there like an academic portion to this that we have to upkeep
No,
for like
no,
okay.
there's no required research or coursework that needs to be done. We do have the opportunity for you to do some research, but it wouldn't be for course credit. But you could, if you did do some research and then wanted to uh, present that work at Cuesta, that's something that I think you could put on your resume that you uh, traveled abroad, you did research and presented your results at
Cool.
Cuesta.
One
So,
other
yeah.
question. Also, that's great to know because I'm definitely looking for more connections in that sort of realm. Um, so I know this is the informational meeting, but are there details yet for how we actually enroll for this like trip and stuff? Like to get like confirmation that like we're going on this and stuff like that?
Yes,
Like we'll
the
have to
the
wait till
way that
next
you
week.
enroll, let me just go back to the share screen. Where was that? You would just go to this um, this link, www.explorica.com/ and this is my name, Ike Meyer, EICKEMUIER -3511. And
Okay.
I'll send that link along with some of the handouts that I gave at the in-class meeting today. I
Mm-hmm.
gave out two handouts, flyers that give more information about different aspects of the trip, and I'll include those in the email that I send, so that you'll have access to everything that you would have had during our daytime meeting.
Okay. Also, does the money have to be paid sort of upfront when you enroll, or is the money sort of due like before the deadline or like before it's
There's
the
a couple of options. One, you can hold the price with just a $50 down payment. And then
Okay.
what they'll probably want to do is structure some kind of a monthly payment plan.
Oh, okay.
And
Got
so
it.
I think if we started at this point, it might be something like 700 a month
Okay. All right.
to be paid off in time for them to do the plane tickets. I think it's something like that. The longer we wait, the bigger the monthly payments would be, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay. Got it.
yeah, but
Okay. Just I
yeah,
was
you
just
can.
wondering about that.
You, I think they tend to be forgiving about missing payments as long as you can get the final payments in by the time that they do the plane reservations.
Okay. Got
Because
it.
that's the thing that I don't think they can cancel very easily.
Okay.
Once they made those reservations, they kind
Got
of
it.
So
locked
how
it.
soon do we have to enroll?
Um, the There was a date that said that the prices stay this way until October 31st, which when I had that date set, that was like a month and a half ago. And I've got kind of a late start on getting this going. I think that's too soon. And so I'm going to talk to our, uh, our tour director and see if I can get that pushed off another couple of weeks. But even if you went over the deadline, the most it would go up would be like maybe $50. So
Hmm.
I mean, you could wait till like January or February, and the prices aren't going to change appreciably. They would change just a little bit, maybe $50, and then maybe
Okay.
50 in December or something like that. But it's not a big increase. But it's always nice to get in a lower price. Also, the other thing is that if you have done some kind of research or are planning on doing research, we have some NSF money available to give you a discount. I don't know exactly how much it is. Lori McConico is in charge of the NSF uh, grant, and she's told me that we had several thousand. So I think of at least 3,000 or so. And so it would depend on how many people were signed up that were that qualified as having done some kind of a research course or are concurrently, say, in the spring in a research course. And then those people, once they sign up, we would take the amount of money for the discount and divide it equally amongst the people that qualify for the discount. So I can't tell you exactly how much that is right now, so I don't know exactly how much money is available. I think it's at least 3,000, but it could be more. I need to talk to Lori and see how much more we could squeeze out of the grant. But it would also be contingent on how many people qualified for the discount, because to be fair, we need to split it equally among all the people that qualify for the discount.
And then how do we indicate that we're interested in doing research at CERN?
Um, the um, the
Or, sorry, on the trip.
you mean in if you want to do research, you can just let me know,
Okay.
and I'll have things planned, and we can just make sure that you are uh, uh, are a part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you. Yeah,
yeah,
I would
if you have also if you have ideas of things that you wanted to do or study that would be particularly enhanced by the area that we are in, I could I could help with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I have another question
Yes.
regarding, is there like a max number of students who can like enroll in this? Like, are there limited
I
spots?
originally set the tour number for 12, but as I understand it, you can get as many as 48 into one of those tours. You have to
Okay,
break
wow,
them up.
okay.
But theoretically, there's no upper limit. There's a point where my trying to keep track of a lot of people gets to where I'm near my limit. I had the biggest group that I ever took was 21, and that I would be surprised if we had that many this time. But I would keep going. You know, if there were people that were really interested, I could expand more than that. I'm also happy if it's just 3 or 4. Yeah, it's uh, but the more people that want to do it, the the better. Just in terms of I think giving more people the experience.
Okay, that's good to know. I also want to know, um, crap, I just forgot the question. Never mind.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably think of it in a few minutes. Anybody? I may not be thinking of everything. It's been a long day, uh, but if there are things that I can think of that I haven't brought up that you think are relevant, or that I think might be relevant for you, I'll include them in the email that I send out to everyone who's given me their email address. Also, I'll also include this in the email, but my office is 2310. I have office hours Monday and Wednesday, 11:15 to 12:30, and Tuesday 9 to 10, and a Zoom office hour on Tuesday at 4:30. That's at the same web address that you the same link that you used to get onto this one. So you're welcome, and I'll leave you my cell phone number too. So there you could text me with that. So there are lots of different ways to get a hold of me in person if you want to talk more, or if you're having problems. There are things that you're not sure about in the enrollment process, or if you want me to talk to the tour director and get some kind of a arrangement with lodging set up so that whatever it is. So there are always little miscellaneous things that I can help with that are above the just the normal enrollment process and payment things that you might be uh, experiencing. So
So,
I'm
oh,
here
I
for you.
remember my question, by
I'm
the
sorry.
way. I remember my question.
Good.
So with lodging and stuff, are we
Yeah.
picking those arrangements ourselves, or are you and Laurie deciding that? Like, I assume it's going to be separated by gender, but do you get to pick like who you're with, like in a room or something like that, or is it like,
Normally,
okay,
yes.
okay,
When you when we meet up with the other groups, the price is set up for a rooming in um, either triples or quads. If you want your own room, you can get that, but it's an extra fee. And so normally what happens is, and the genders are separate, and so um, uh, you would usually just let me know who you would want a room with, and we can usually work it out.
okay, good to know.
Yeah, yeah. So you're not just randomly thrown in somewhere. And we go around and we ask, and we try to get the best consensus on who wants to room with who.
One other question. Sorry, I'm asking so many.
No, that's okay.
When you
I like the
enroll,
questions. That's
okay,
why we're here.
okay, so like when you enroll, you're effectively locked in, right? Because you're not able to start making payments, or like, are you able to like opt out? Well, like let's say like as like circumstances have changed, but you've made a couple payments already. Like, are those payments effectively voided, or you just kind of like lose them? I'm just
I
like
think you
curious.
can get. Uh, that's where I would check with the travel protection. I know that if there's something that isn't your fault, that is because of what's happening and some terrorist activity in the trip, that they would refund you. If it's something where you got sick or um, you couldn't continue to make payments, I think you can get some of the money back. But yeah, that's where I would look at a travel protection thing and see how well that covers you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So is that it? Have we exhausted the questions? I wish I could think of more things to say. I think a lot of times people ask why do you travel, and I think it's a broadening experience, but it's also something that people do look at as being a valuable kind of a life experience. And of course, we don't do that in the United States, but in France, I know that to graduate with a master's degree, you have to have traveled abroad. They consider that to be vital life experience, to give you that broader perspective and to help uh, uh, be more understanding of the ways of other people and to be more knowledgeable about what else is available in the world and other ways that things can be done that may be quite a bit different from how they are in the United States. What we would do uh, for those of you that want to go on this adventure is we would have several info meetings. I would go over things like uh, how to pack, how to deal with jet lag, how to be safe, how to they could recommend a money belt, and now we're not going to be too worried about crime and the places that we're going. There's uh, a lot more theft, I would say, maybe in Rome or London or Paris, but we're going to be in areas that are a little less crowded, and it's also going to be earlier in the summer. We'll be going to Switzerland, we'll be going to a less crowded part of Italy. People do go along the Mediterranean coast, but it's not the kind of crowdedness that you would see in a really big city like Venice or Italy uh, or London, England. But when we do get to Barcelona, that'll be the one place where uh, the things will get a little more exciting. But I love Barcelona, so So I'm okay with that. Other things that we'll talk about will be like what not to pack. Most people don't come back from a trip like that saying, "I wish I brought more," because you're going to be moving around a lot. You'll be carrying things off of your buses, and then sometimes, like in a Swiss chalet or something, you may have to take it up a flight of stairs. There may not be an elevator, and so what I always recommend is that you take the stuff that you think you need, put it into your suitcase, take it downtown, and lug it around with you for a while. Then go home, open it back up, then do a little soul searching, and throw a bunch of that stuff out, and keep everything as light as possible. And we'll talk about money, money exchanges. So, and just try to go through everything that I've learned from having been there before. If you only speak English, that doesn't tend to be a big hindrance to having a good time in Europe, because English is a really commonly spoken language, and a lot of people do speak English. But we'll learn about different mannerisms and what is considered to be uh, a good way to communicate in one country might not be taken the same way in another country. For example, in Bulgaria, if you shake your head like this, it means yes. You nod your head like this, it means no. And so just little mannerisms and things that you might do and think they don't mean anything could be either good or bad. And so we go over those kinds of things just so that you're ready. You have the basic phrases like, "Where's the bathroom?" And, how to order food at a restaurant in French versus Spanish, and that kind of thing. So we'll have several meetings like that. We have a deal with I think it's LAX. So we'd have to fly out of LAX. I've got I can take a group of people in my car, and I park down at a place that's about 20 minutes away or so from LAX in front of my friend's house. You just take an Uber from there, maybe $30 for the whole car. So not that expensive if you set that up right, just in terms of parking your car. If you know somebody down there, you might want to leave your car at that person's house. Other things you can do are take the bus shuttle from Santa Maria. It goes straight to LAX, and there's another bus shuttle that goes from Santa Barbara Airport to LAX. So those are the kinds of things that we would go over. What kinds of safety precautions in terms of things to be careful about, and staying together as a group is always much safer in a group than you are if you're wandering. Any other questions?
What time do you know would we be leaving? Like, are we all rendezvousing on campus and then all traveling together to LAX to the airport to leave for Europe?
No, we'd probably take separate cars depending on
Okay.
how many people are going. Now, if I only had a small group, I'm perfectly fine taking just 3 or 4 people if that's that if that's how it works out. But if we've got, say, a good group of 12 or 15, we would take several cars down, and then what I usually like to do is just have everybody check in at their leisure, and then we have a meeting time at the gateway that we would be leaving from.
Oh, okay. So it's like private transportation essentially to the airport. Like we have to take our own car and go there.
Well, you could go with me.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
If you want to make a reservation early, nobody has asked me yet, and so I
I
usually,
mean, can I do that now?
yeah, sure, you could
Okay,
definitely do
great. I mean,
that.
Unless I change my mind, but as far as I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I just fill up the car with people that ask first, and then
Okay.
and the rest, usually there are some people that have friends or family in LA that where they can park the car. The other option, of course, is to park at LAX, but that can add up. That could be a couple $100 to
Yeah.
park
Yeah.
at the airport. But if you've ever done that, even at San Luis Airport, it's like $20 a day. So I try to avoid that. Has
Yeah.
everybody gotten their name and their email and anything else they wanted to include in terms of research opportunities or other questions? Because if I see something here that you didn't want to ask, but that is on here, I can include an answer in the email that I sent back.
Yeah, I got nothing else.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Ackmeyer. I don't really have any questions, but thank you for this meeting.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. I hope to see you all soon for an adventure.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I'm curious. How many people came to the in-person informational meeting today?
I think we had about 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't
So like,
completely
okay.
overloaded. And so it
All
looks
right.
like we'll have a, well, definitely, I don't, I would go if there were only 2 or 3 people that wanted to go. I like small groups, but big groups are fine too. It's just, it, it's less people to keep track of when it's a smaller group. Uh, but big groups are fun too. They have their own positive energy that goes along with
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
it. Okay, sure.
Thank you, Dr. E. Have a good night.
Okay, thanks. You too.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
All right, I'm
Thank
headed out.
you.
Thank
Talk to
you.
you soon.